we were in Columbia, in the hallway, and this team of some kind of office executives came up to us and said, you have to leave the hallway. If you stay in the building, you have to stay in a room. You cannot be out in the hallway because we have some important clients coming and we don't want them to see you. The fucking Byrds. We flew there to record in Columbia Studios. Right? But they don't want any of these goddamn long-haired hippies in their Nashville studios. Right? We just kind of said, okay, fine. We got work to do anyway, right? Then Joan Baez is recording in the next room, next studio over. She calls up Roger and says, Roger, I'm doing country rock. I'm doing country music. I got country musicians backing me. Why don't you come by? Come check it out. Why don't you guys hear what I'm doing? So we took a break. We went over to the studio. We just came in the back and we just stood quietly listening. Producer turns around to us and says, I'm sorry, you guys have to leave. We're doing something very special here, and we don't want you here. It's like, what? Right? So we were really happy to leave Nashville and to leave Columbia Records Nashville behind. Because at that time, there was this stigma. Real country musicians, and it may still be this way, I don't know. They look this way, they sound this way. You guys are dirty hippies. You're messing with our music. We don't want you here.
In commercial terms, Sweetheart of the Rodeo marked a low point for the Byrds. It only managed to reach number 77 on the US album chart and was a spectacular flop in Britain, where it failed to chart at all. Though critical reaction had been reasonable and the project had clearly represented an important musical statement, opinion remained divided over the wisdom of making such a commitment to country music.
There was no country market other than the country market, and the country market was Bakersfield and Nashville. That's the truth. That was basically a different world, a different set of stations. Nobody played country songs on pop music. There were occasional variances, okay? Anomalies such as Ray Charles sailed through pretty well. Nat King Cole did one. But those were the exceptions. So when the Byrds became a country and Western reality, it created a nightmare for the institution called that the record company represented. So they had no idea how to deal with it, I don't think, and naughty guys, naughty.
This is not a popular opinion, but I would have preferred that the Byrds, in whatever lineup they were using with Roger McGuinn, have tried to do that 2-album set that he was thinking of that was very ambitious. In interviews, he's kind of said, well, it would have started like with the strains of mountain music and would have ended with the Moog synthesizer, which was the most futuristic instrument available on the market at that time. I think he could have done brilliant stuff within that framework. And I do kind of think that Sweetheart of the Rodeo was a regression in the sense that the Byrds between 1965 and 1967 were relentlessly pushing back the frontiers of what was allowable within rock music and what could be done within rock music. And here it was almost as though they were retreating to simpler forms which had already been explored.
I don't think it would have been better to pursue the electronic ambitions. I mean, the move into country was prescient. You know, in a year, everybody was going to be doing it, you know, or a version of it. You know, there was a kind of almost a kind of penitence on the part of the counterculture, where everybody pared back. The Grateful Dead made Working Man's Dead. You know, Dylan made John Wesley Harding. you know, even the Rolling Stones with a record like Beggar's Banquet, there was a movement away from this kind of, you know, we're just going to pursue this psychedelic thing and drugs and all that that represented as far as it's going to take us. There really began to be casualties to that. And that prompted this kind of back to the land, interest in country music, restoration of traditional values, or re-exploration of traditional values that you know, that country represented. And Sweetheart of the Rodeo was a very early indicator of that much larger cultural movement.
The Byrds had followed up the recording of Sweetheart of the Rodeo by touring with the new band lineup. During the UK leg of the tour, the group suffered a new but familiar breakdown. While in London, Graham Parsons had struck up a friendship with Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards. Hearing Richards' description of apartheid, Graham refused to join the Byrds in leaving England to play South Africa, a decision that may not have been as principled as it was initially presented.
We're sitting in a hotel room in London, and Graham says, I'm not going to South Africa. We had 2 hours to go to Heathrow, and I was furious. The reason he did not go to South Africa was not based on a moral dilemma over racism. It was because he wanted to stay and hang out with Keith Richards. Obviously, his tenure in the Byrds was over.
He said, but I ain't going. Yeah, I mean, just like that. I said, well, that's a good, I just got you out the van, right? You were a member of the Byrds yesterday. Today you ain't got a gig because I told you. So.
The Rolling Stones are a vortex, a huge vortex of energy. Nicky Hopkins was a close friend of mine. It's kind of like standing too close to a train when it goes by and it'll suck you under the wheels. There's an incredible, incredible pull, like running away with 1,000 circuses. If a van rode by right now and Mick Jagger came to the window and said, hey, you blokes want to join the Rolling Stones? You want to go on the road with us? Don't you think you'd make a call and say, I'll see you guys in a few months. I'm going to go on tour with the Stones! It's like that. Graham had an opportunity to hang out with rock royalty. And he would take Keith Richards out here to Joshua Tree in the desert. And they'd hang out together with guitars and howl at the moon. There's no way he was going to give that up. Graham basically saw the next layer of his story, that he was finished with the Byrds. He had taken that as far as he could go. The Byrds went country, and now the Stones, the girl with the faraway eyes. Wow, the Stones want to learn about country from me. I am country. I'm the guy. I'm hanging out with Mick and Keith. You know, come on. You know, that's a hard thing to say. Well, I've got another obligation. I promised my mom I'd wash the car.
With Graham Parsons out of the band before Sweetheart of the Rodeo had even been released, McGuinn and Hillman set about restructuring the Byrds. The new lineup centered around the recruitment of Clarence White, an innovative guitarist who had previously played sessions for the Byrds and had featured on Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Kevin Kelly was fired at White's behest and replaced on drums by Gene Parsons. The new arrangement seemed appealing. Clarence White was a naturally progressive musician, capable of evolving the band's sound, but he also provided an important degree of continuity, having spent much of his life playing bluegrass and country.
I'm ready anytime you are, Sheriff. Okay, now I've been bragging on us a whole lot, so let's do it good for Mr. Maxwell. All right? Have old banjos all strung up with twine, and only song you could hear me sing was I wish that gal was mine. Oh, you kicking you, oh, you, I say, I ain't got time to kiss you now, my mule's run away.
Clarence White brought so much to the Byrds.